Welcome to Sleep for Brain Health. My name is Lisa Killian, and I am a yoga instructor. I teach in the area and also here. I'm also a health coach certified through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And I have been on the quest for the perfect night of sleep for the past 7 or 8 years. So I've pulled together a lot of my research, as well as the work that I've done on myself, and I've put it together in this toolkit for super sleep as well. On one side, you're going to see some of the tips, and on the other side, just some interesting facts that if we have time, we'll go through and talk about this. So before we get too far into the toolkit, I am curious, how many of you get less than 6 hours of sleep on a regular basis? How many of you have trouble falling asleep? Yes. How many of you have trouble staying asleep? Yes, exactly. All right, well, you guys are all in the right place, it seems. So the way we'll work this is the first half an hour or so, we're going to just have a conversation about some of the suggestions on how to get a better night's sleep. And then we will take a little break. We'll do a little stretching. I'm a yoga instructor, so just get a little loose. And then we're going to actually experience what's called Yoga Nidra, which is part of the non-sleep deep rest protocol. That is a recommendation for something that you can do during the day to help you start to get a better sleep at night. So that'll be about 15 minutes, and then we'll leave 10 to 15 minutes for questions after that. So if you guys are interested, there is some chamomile tea over there to sort of help relax the body, so feel free to get up, get yourself some drink. And with that in mind, I am actually going to Toolkit for Sleep or Sleep. The general thing that I'm going to say about all of these suggestions is that they all involve changes, small changes that you can make during the day, or bigger changes, bigger upgrades to your sleep at night. But that being said, we're all individuals, and so some things that work better for some people are not going to be working as well for others. So it's an experiment, the way I sort of look at it. And I highly suggest that you either do like a little journal, like some of the ideas here. You journal how it affects your sleep. Or if some of you have some of those nifty Oura rings or Fitbit trackers, you can use those to sort of give you some insights into how, when you play with these different ideas, how they actually work for your body. So that was number 1. So number 2, it's all about the light. I was so happy this individual walked in and he's a sleep fellow or something like. He could probably give this seminar better than I can, but he said it's all about the light, and it is, because there's an interesting thing. Light, if you can bring it into your eyes early in the morning, like sunrise, or when you wake up, go out, preferably outside, and get light into your eyes, it's going to do what's called kicking off a cortisol push. And you're like, okay, cortisol leads to epinephrine, leads to adrenaline. It is the activating energy to motivate you, to warm you up, to keep you moving throughout your day. It's part of the circadian rhythm. So circadian just means 24-hour clock, and it's everybody's got a natural, actually, not even everybody, every animal, every thing has their own circadian rhythm that is embodied and it's embedded in you. So what we can do with light is use the circadian rhythm to help us know when to be active, and then when to calm down and rest and sleep. And so when you wake up, if you can get sunlight or bright light into your eyes, it's going to give you this cortisol push. And you're like, why does she keep focusing on this cortisol push? It's because 12 to 14 hours later, you're going to get a release of melatonin. And so melatonin is what actually is the trigger to help you start falling asleep. If you can get that cortisol push, then you're going to get the melatonin release 12 to 14 hours later, which helps your body rest and start to fall asleep. Dim light at night is going to facilitate signaling to your body that it's okay to start resting. So bright light in the morning and during the day. Take off those blue blockers during the day. You want all the different colors of light to hit your eye. And then as it gets later in the evening, you want to turn those lights way down. And actually, you can also lower the lights. The overhead lights are going to keep you a little more activated and active. If you've got lights that are lower, or even candle lights, those would be ideal. You want to feel like you're going into a little cave when you want to signal to your body to calm down. And then the other thing is the recommendation is no light between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. So if you can stop that 3:30 a.m. rollover, look at my iPhone to see what time it is, because that is actually going to activate you just a little bit. So experiment with that. If you can experiment with dimming the lights at night, putting your phones away, maybe wearing an eye mask if you're comfortable with that, just to get your body in these natural rhythms. But it's also about a few other things that you can build some consistency in your days so that you can tell your body when it's active, when it's okay to be active, and when it's sort of normal. And then there's ways you can signal to your body that it's okay to calm down and rest. Exercise. We talked about this a little bit. If you find that you're exercising earlier in the day is going to give you more energy during the day. It's warming up your body. It's revving up your metabolism. Those are all active behaviors. So if you find that you exercise at night, maybe 7 o'clock at night is the only time that you can exercise. If it doesn't affect your sleep, great. But if it is affecting your sleep, maybe change the type of exercise that you're doing. Instead of maybe a high-intensity interval training, maybe you build in some restorative yoga or something like that. Just something, because that actually signals, yes, it's okay to start restoring, resting. Food intake. It's almost like we need to think of ourselves as being like cave dwellers, because that's what we were back in the day. The sun rose, it woke you up, you went out, you foraged for food, you hunted for food, you prepared the food, you cleaned the food, whatever you did. It seemed like the whole day was just spent on sustaining yourself. But then, when it starts getting darker, it's dangerous for you to be out after when it's dark. So everyone, that's the time of rest. You go back into the cave or wherever your dwelling was, and you sleep. So that's almost like the pattern we need to help our bodies get into. It is actually takes a lot of energy for your body to process food, to transform it from food into something your body can use. So it is using energy, it's warming you up, it's so eating earlier in the day, if you're having trouble sleeping, might be something you want to try. Maybe some smaller meals in the evening, just so that you're not digesting when you're trying to go to sleep. And the same thing, so we sort of went like, here are the things that warm you up, that are active, and then the things that can signal calming down. are some rituals that you can start to build for yourself to signal to your body that it's time for rest. This is everyone's favorite. Notice the effects of caffeine and alcohol. So caffeine, I'm not the person that's going to tell you no caffeine, no alcohol. That's not what this is about. But what you can do is start to notice the effects of caffeine. If you feel like it's impacting your sleep, start to notice when you are drinking your caffeinated beverages. Typically, I think it's like they say between 8 to 12 hours before you want to go to sleep, stop drinking caffeine is the typical amount of time. So if you stop your caffeinated cups of coffee around 10, you should be good to go when you like to go to sleep for most people. And the whole reason for this is that there is a substance in your body called adenosine. And adenosine basically builds sleep hunger. And so the longer you're awake, the more adenosine you're building until it gets to a high enough level. And then working with melatonin, it'll help you fall asleep. What happens with caffeine is you've got these adenosine receptors that the caffeine blocks. And so the adenosine, it can't go where it needs to go until your caffeine is out of your system, and only then will it start to build up your adenosine sleep hunger. So that's the science behind that. So, and it's individual. Everyone's going to have different tolerances and ways that their body metabolizes their caffeine. So that's another place that you can experiment and use a little journal to track. And then alcohol. Alcohol just messes with your sleep. There's just no way around it. It's a lot of people say, "Oh, it helps me. It helps. I sleep better when I have a drink or two, or it puts me to sleep." I would argue that it might not be putting you to sleep. I would say it might be more sedating you, because your brain waves when you're on the alcohol sleep are not the healthy brain waves that you get when you're in the deep, light REM sleep. They're different brain waves that are going through your body. So it's not restorative sleep that you would love to get. So the other thing is that it's also, your body thinks, as it's metabolizing the alcohol, your body is kind of in stress mode. And so your sleep is really fragmented. Like, have you ever noticed that you're waking up a lot, sort of in and out of sleep cycles? It's really quick. And it also really messes with your REM sleep. That's one way to really assist your sleep, by keeping it dark, quiet, comfy, and cool. And ideally, it's between 60 and 67 degrees, which seems really cold, but it actually works for most people. The reason why is that your core body temperature needs to drop by 1 to 3 degrees in order to stay asleep. So if your environment is cooler, you're going to have a better time of lowering that core body temperature. And the other way that we can sort of lower our core body temperature that can also be a nice little ritual for you to adopt as you're coming into sleep is taking a hot bath. And I always thought this was sort of counterintuitive. I was like, well, taking a hot bath is going to warm you up because you're in the hot water. No, what it actually does is it takes the heat and sort of brings it out to the extremities. So it's in your arms and legs away from the core. And so your core actually cools down. So let me skip down to just the last point, because you guys did ask it earlier, but this is just a general comment that if you have serious issues, sleep apnea or other health issues, hormone issues, definitely go see your healthcare provider. These are all suggestions for, sort of the masses. But if you've got specific sleep issues, there's help out there. So contact your health professional. For the rest of us, this is like number 6 is sort of like the core of like my practices, what I teach in yoga, what I believe in, that we can all use a bit more rest and relaxation sprinkled throughout our day, or even at night before we go to bed. But the terminology for these things is non-sleep deep rest protocols, NSDRs. And included in that are things like you can take naps. And while I do realize that naps is sleep, it fits nicely in the bucket. But there's also something called Yoga Nidra, which is yogic sleep, which we're going to practice. So I'm just going to table that for now. Meditation. Meditation and also some forms of hypnosis are found that these are ways that we can just train our brain to sort of move into relaxation mode. It sort of takes us out of the activeness of our days, the worries of our brain. And they're all techniques that you can use the body to get out of your brain a little bit, to what you were saying, you're up in our heads. And so a lot of these are like breath work. Like you can move into a meditation just by closing your eyes and taking 5 breaths and exhaling slightly longer than feels natural. Because these longer exhales signal to your body that it's okay to relax. And when you think about it, when you're anxious or you're scared or something, your breath's way up here. It's like everything just sort of tightens up, the breath comes up, you're entering like a sympathetic nervous response, which is active, fight or flight. Just closing your eyes, exhaling longer than feels natural for 5 breaths will start you down a path of just calming yourself down and getting out of your head just a little bit because you've gone into your body. For those of you that don't know, it's light sleep, and then it goes deep. Well, I think of it as light sleep, drop down to deep sleep, and then you sort of pop into REM, which is, and then light. So there's normally like 4 to 6 cycles of light, deep, REM, light, deep, REM. That's all doing the function of basically clearing out, for like toxins that are in your brain. It's just restoring the brain. It's clearing out any sort of buildup in your brain. It's like so many benefits that it's like positive effects, anxiety, depression, hormones, blood pressure, various things like that. So, we all know the benefits of good sleep. It's just also knowing that the sleep cycles, you have to have all of them. One's not better than the other. It's a whole composite of all of those different cycles of sleep and the different brain waves that are restoring, clearing things out, refreshing, sort of like a big waterfall, just sort of into your brain. And you guys are brain experts too, so you can feel free to chime in there.
In short, it's healing. You need sleep to heal from whatever is going on, whether it's positive, negative, and everywhere in between. But we need to go through cycles, and I say cycles because it's not just once, but with, for 7 to 9 hours roughly of cycles to truly heal. Our brains, there's elasticity in our brains, and they need to get back to a healing and to a regulated level so that we're positioned and ready to take on the next day. And I know I'm making it very simple, but really in the simplest of form of language, that's really kind of the best way that I can explain it. And then from a physiological perspective, I mean, think about it. You could. I mean, I'll just use myself as an example. I could, run a half marathon and not be able, feel so stiff and not wanting to walk even. And then the next day, I can wake up if I've had a good restful sleep. I can wake up and feel like nothing ever happened the day before. I needed that sleep to heal. So, and that's the purpose.
Perfect. And pause. Feel where your feet hit the ground. Heels hit the ground. Lifts. Let's bring your chin down towards your chest. And then roll your head over to one side. Roll it back through center. Roll it to the other. Just take a few releases of the neck. Rolling the head side to side. Type of yoga nidra that we're going to do today is really to relax and get ourselves set up for sleep. So you don't have to do anything other than listen to my voice and bring your awareness to the parts of the body that I'll be mentioning as we go through the parts of the body. So find yourself a comfortable seat. If you like, you can rest your back. Rest your hands either on your lap, or maybe sometimes I like to have my hands clasped, whatever is most comfortable for you. And then you can soften your eyes or lower your gaze. Keep the eyes closed if that's comfortable for you. Now begin the practice of Yoga Nidra. By bringing an awareness to your breath without actually changing anything about the breath. An awareness. When you inhale, bring in relaxation. Exhale, stress. Inhale, relaxation. Exhale, feel stress leaving your body. So those normally go on, they can go on for, that was a short one. They can go on. You're laughing because it didn't seem short. Yeah, you just move through your body.
Catchy too.
If you're not used to visual, but that's why you do these things during the day, so you can start to train yourself. Because the more you do stuff like this, or meditation, or hypnosis, the easier it is to get into it. And so then if you do have problems falling asleep at night or waking up at night, you can go into and actually just start doing this yourself. Or like Donna said, we did one of these workshops at the yoga studio where we were. One of the things that I find that works amazing is just counting your breaths backwards, starting at 27. So you start laying on one side, count back, 27 breaths. You're still awake, the other side, count 27 for us. Are you ever awake after?
No, I don't usually make it.
But I thank you guys for coming out and
Thank you to Lisa Killian, and just to welcome you here to Lifted, the Brain Wellness Center. This is a lot of what we do. Lisa is one of our instructors. Colleen has also joined us. She's our art therapy instructor. They're both phenomenal. We're happy to stay behind Donna as the director of the center. I'm, I guess, the CEO and founder of it. Jessie, who you've met there, I'm welcoming you. She is our client services and marketing manager. We've got Ross that helps us with all technological things, and with the, we do podcasts and blogs and all that stuff. But we're happy to give you a tour of our facility.